everyone, and welcome to another video with Bookish with Mariah. I'm Mariah, and welcome back to Bookish with Mariah. I'm so happy to have you all back on my YouTube channel. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel. If you like my content, I would love to have you, and also follow me on Instagram at Bookish with Mariah. Okay, so you all can probably tell by the title of this video what we're going to be talking about today. We are going to be talking about the top 5 books that made me cry. Now, of course, this list is probably going to change quite a bit as I read more books this year, but at least I can talk to you all about 5 books that has definitely broke me down emotionally, or at least had me in my feelings, and I'm excited about my picks, so please stay tuned for the rest of this video. Right, so I am going to do these, I think, from the countdown of 5, so that way we can get to my #1 book so far that has had me in my feelings. All right, so starting in at number 5, this book, I absolutely loved it, and I was so emotional at the end of it, and it is Far From the Tree by Robin Benway. This one was really good, easy read. At first, when I first started reading it, I felt like it started off a bit slow, but you are pretty much learning about all of the characters in this book, and I will say each one of them play like such a role. So you have siblings. I think from what I remember, it's 3 characters, or it could be 4, but 3 characters from what I remember, and all of them are siblings, and they did not grow up together. So they at birth were adopted off or sent in different areas because unfortunately their mother could not care for them, and I don't know what happened to their fathers. So you have 2 of the girls that were adopted off, and then you have the brother who was never adopted. He has grown up in a foster home his whole entire life. One of the characters that were adopted off, she grew up as an only child, and then you have one of the other daughters that grew up with siblings, but she always looked different from the siblings, and she always felt like an outcast in the family. So all of them has gone through like some kind of emotional trauma, and they are learning about each other. They just decided, one of the characters decided to reach out to one of the siblings and kind of see if she can make a relationship with her siblings and bring them all together. And you basically go on this journey with them of like learning about each character, and also them find each other and coming together. And I felt like the story was very well done. I really felt so many emotions for these characters. I've told you guys several times before, adoption has always been a special thing, near and dear to my heart, because I myself am adopted, and so every time I hear stories about siblings finding each other or families making connections after years, I'm always here for it in stories because I like to read about that. And I thought this book was phenomenally done. So definitely, if you're looking for a nice, quick, emotional read, definitely impactful, I would highly recommend picking up Far From the Tree by Robin Benway. Right, coming in at number 4 is gonna be Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. This was a new release, oh my gosh, new release for 2020. I loved this book. I thought it was very good. It was about 2 sisters that grew up in a completely different world. You have one sister that grew up in the US, and then you have another sister that grew up in the DR, and each sister don't know about each other. They have the same father, so they're not aware that their father has been living 2 different lives this whole entire time. He's married to one woman, he's not married to the other woman, and he has a family in each place, and he splits his time in between the DR and then traveling to, I think it's New York. Is it New York? I think where she lives, but I know it's up north, and so he travels there to visit both girls and, you know, be a father to both girls. But anyway, unfortunately the father passes away, and the girls go on this journey to basically find each other in a way. Like, they don't know about each other, but they find out about each other, and then after that they make that connection as siblings. And you basically go through this emotional roller coaster with both girls, processing the loss of their father, but also processing the fact that they've had a sister that they are basically the exact same age, maybe a year apart, and they want to get to know each other and kindle and grow in a relationship. And you basically see them just kind of navigating all this new information that's been hit with them, plus they're dealing with planning their father's funeral and trying to understand what to do about that. So I definitely would say this was a great read. It was impactful. You definitely get to feel the emotions of the girls and what they're going through, and also just them like trying to find each other and figure out how to work out that relationship. And you know, I feel like it was really emotional, groundbreaking. I feel like Elizabeth Acevedo done a very an awesome job combining these two worlds and also talking about how they are different. The cover is so clever. Like, you have the sister in the DR, the other sister that's growing up north, and you have an airplane right in between it. And if you've read the book, then you know how significant the airplane is in this book. I'm not going to say what that is, but I will say it's so impactful. Definitely pick it up. I loved it, and I definitely shed a tear at the end of this book. All right, so the next book I have here is Girls Like Us by Randy Pink. This was so good. I was trying to find the date in here on when it took place. I know it took place in either the 60s or the 70s, but I wanted to make sure I was correct, but it doesn't say right here. No, it's not here, but I know that it is a historical fiction book, and it takes place, I think, either in the 60s or 70s, and it's during the time where girls that get pregnant, they are not able to stay home. A lot of the women at that time want to keep their children's pregnancies and their teen pregnancies a secret. And so all four of these girls are different race. They come from different ethnical backgrounds. They come from different spiritual backgrounds. They are different in every way. But one thing they have in common is all the girls are pregnant, and they are all put in a situation to where they have to decide on what they want to do about their pregnancy. At that time, women's rights was a completely different look than what it is now in the year of 2021. Women have so many more options now than they did back in the 60s and 70s, and now these girls as teen moms are being looked at like the pariah, or like the worst thing in the world, because they have gotten pregnant and as a teenager, and they all connect in a certain way. I don't want to say how they all come together, but there's some things that happen to push these girls in the same direction, going down the same path, and you definitely get emotional seeing both girls' stories, how she's treated, what she has to face, and also the innocence of some of the girls and like their mindset, because there's so much that they don't understand about what's going on in the outside world politically, and also with laws, and what's going on in the inside world. But they also don't understand what's going on pertaining to motherhood, and you have someone that's trying to guide them and help them, but it's also very hard. So I definitely say this book was pretty good. It's so teeny tiny. It was a short read. I probably finished it in like 2 days because it was a page turner, but definitely a standalone, but so impactful. And I feel like it was informative because I have, of course, thought about women's rights a lot. I was a women's studies major when I was in undergrad, and this was a topic that we talked about often, but reading about it like this in this book and following these different girls, and they are treated different based on their race, based on their financial background. I just really felt like a lot of the girls connected in more ways than one. So I definitely say checking out Girls Like Us by Randy Pink is 100% worth it. I wasn't expecting this. When I picked it up, I thought it was going to be okay, but it turned out to be wonderful. And like I said, the girls were treated differently based off of their financial background and where they come from. And so you get to see in this book how much that influence played a big role on the outcome of what happened to them after they had their children. All right, coming in at number 2 is no surprise to anybody that's been following my channel. You know I cannot do a video about emotional reads until I have to always mention Tiffany D. Jackson and one of her books. They just take me down through there. Every time I'm going down an emotional journey. I have read 3 of Tiffany D. Jackson books. I have read Allegedly. I have read Grown, which is her new 2020 release. If you haven't read it, definitely check it out. It was good. But on emotional drama, I feel like, in my opinion, Monday's Not Coming tops the scale. I was so emotional reading this book, and the whole time I felt like I was on a race to figure out what was happening. And even toward the end of the book, I did not guess the ending at all. So I would say Monday's Not Coming is my number 2, and it used to be my number 1 until I recently read the number 1 book that I'm going to talk about. But this one is, oh man, it's competing for number 1, honestly, because it was just so good. It's about this young lady named Monday. She she has a so it's about a young lady named Monday, but also the main character named Claudia in this book. It's pretty much narrated by her, and it's going in different space in different times. So it's going to the before, it's going to the after, it's going to the now. So you're basically playing with the timeline through this whole book. But basically Claudia has a best friend named Monday. They do everything together and they spend every moment together. And basically the short version of this story is Monday goes missing and nobody knows what happened to her. Nobody seems concerned. And this is basically raising up a lot of red flags when it comes to black girls going missing around the world and it not being a topic of discussion like a lot. And so this book raises awareness to situations like that. Claudia is searching the school, talking to the school counselors, talking to the police. Nobody will listen to her. And she talks to Monday's family and all of them are brushing her off. So definitely she goes on this chase to try to find her best friend. And she discovers so much about herself. She discovers a lot about Monday's past and outside life that she had no idea Monday had. And there is so much that's unpacked in this story. And I definitely felt like it was an emotional read. 100% cried at the end of this book. And I also attended a couple of author discussions about this book because I was just that moved by it. I needed to hear from the author herself what was going on when she was writing this book. So 100% Monday's Not Coming is that. If you want to hear me rant and rave about this book, definitely check out some of my past videos where I literally go off on a whole spill about my love for Tiffany D. Jackson and her as a writer. All right, so the last book on my list that has definitely gave me like, I don't know, it just impacted me so much, y'all. I think I cried so many different times in this book and I was so emotional with this book, and I did a full book review on this book, and that is The Great Alone by Kristen Hanna. It was so dang good, like from start to finish. This is a chunky book, but I got through it and it was a page turner for sure. You can see I've tabbed all through this book. I mean, it takes you on an emotional roller coaster through so many different levels. I would say if you are interested in my book review, I will link it below this video or in the cards so that way you can see what I felt about this book. The book review is spoiler free as well if you want to check it out. But oh my gosh, this book, and now I'm in love with everything she writes. I read The Nightingale as well, and I'm still going through that one and processing it and stuff like that. Emotional, oh my gosh. The Great Alone just does it for me. It is a historical fiction book. It's taking place in 1974. It's about Lenny, Ern, and Cora. Lenny is the main character. Well, all of them are main characters, but Lenny is basically telling the story. She is a young girl. She has a mother named Cora, and she has a dad named Ern, and they moved to Alaska after her father gets back from the war. He went to the Vietnam War, and at this time, he comes back and he has changed. He has depression, anxiety, bipolar, like just, he is struggling so much. PTSD has definitely taken over him, and Lenny and her mother go through an emotional journey, physically, mentally. It's so much that they're going through because of their father. Well, her father and Cora's husband, and it's a lot on them. And I would say this book is so impactful. Like, this book addressed so many issues and just political issues and just so many different topics that needs to be discussed more, like women's rights in the 70s. What did that look like? And also Lenny being a child, what did that look like dealing with social services? And her father coming back from the war, why didn't the VA provide him any type of support when he came home? Or did they, and he didn't take those resources, and why? People struggling to provide for their family during the war, what that looked like. Like, this book was impactful, and it's a coming of age story because you follow Lenny all the way from the time she's a young girl all the way up into adulthood. So 100% definitely my #1 book for most emotional reads. Please check out my review on The Great Alone. You will not be disappointed. Trigger warnings for this book is 100% like verbal, emotional, and physical abuse. Sexual content is in here. Yeah, and the same way for Monday's Not Coming, just trigger warnings with this one is going to be definitely sexual abuse, physical abuse, murder. It's so much stuff in here that I definitely trigger warnings. Girls Like Us, I think. Rape, just trigger warnings for that. Rape is a theme in here. And then the other books that I talked about, I don't think I need to say anything about trigger warnings with those, but The Great Alone is going to hit you with so many different issues at once. I definitely want to warn you about it, but it's 100% worth it. All the books I talked about are worth it. 100%. The Great Alone, I loved it. All right, so that wraps up my top 5 books that has definitely got me in my feelings. I have more books to talk about in that category, so I'll probably do another book review like this or book video like this. I absolutely loved all 5 of the books that I said. I have scored them very high when it comes to what I felt about those books. The Great Alone, I did a book review for, and honestly, I think I'm going to film one for Monday's Not Coming or Tiffany D. Jackson books in general because they are excellent. I'm going to be posting a book review on Grown, which is her 2020 new release book, very, very soon. It's already filmed and edited. I just need to upload it, so I will be doing that soon. So be on the lookout for that video. But oh my gosh, you all, I definitely love all 5 of the books I talked about today. Thank you all so much. I hope you all loved this video or liked it. If you did, definitely comment below. If you've read any of these books and they are some of your favorites, please comment below this video. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Bookish with Mariah. I would love to have you join the conversation there. Again, Happy New Year. I hope you all are enjoying 2021 and it's already better. I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Okay, bye.